Well, good morning, Congressman Newhouse. I appreciate you taking the time to do this quick interview here this morning. A couple weeks ago, you, along with Congressman Pfluger out of Texas, introduced some legislation called the Critical Minerals Classification Improvement Act. And I was just curious to see what is the purpose of this legislation, and more specifically, how does it relate to critical minerals like uranium?
So, and thanks for letting me be with you a little bit today, Ryan. It's a great opportunity to talk about some really important issues, but also to reconnect with our recent visit to Minnesota. I think it was in February. It was a little chilly up there when we visited, but just a beautiful part of the country, and really appreciated getting to know folks in the communities up in the Iron Reach. This is I think a very important piece of legislation. If you follow these issues, so you probably know this, but the Energy Act of 2020 specified that critical minerals should contain non-fuel minerals. That would be the focus of that legislation. I think the congressional intent, it should be to ensure that we have a stable domestic supply of minerals that are necessary to protect our national security. And certainly among those should be minerals that are related to fuel as well as non-fuel. And that's been a particular point that has, I guess, if it's not clear to us as Americans now, I don't know when it will ever be, as it relates to some of the current events, after Russia invaded Ukraine. This is something that probably a lot of people don't know. We depend on Russia and a lot of the satellite countries that are allies of Russia for almost 50% of our fuel related to uranium. And as we look forward to a clean energy future, which everybody seems to be wanting, how are we going to accomplish that if we're dependent upon sources for a critical fuel element that are not our allies, that are not our friends? We can't have an economy dependent upon sources that are not secure, and that from countries that do not have our best interest at heart. So you're right, August Pfluger from the state of Texas, as well as two other members of Congress on the other side of the aisle, Democrats, Henry Cuellar and Vicente Gonzalez, we got together and co-sponsored this legislation to broaden the definition of the minerals that are covered under this legislation to include both the non-fuel and the fuel critical minerals. And I think that's a very important statement of the priorities of our country, that listing all of those critical minerals will help ensure that we prioritize sourcing those minerals domestically, where, as you know, and we saw firsthand in Minnesota, we can do it better, safer, more environmentally responsible, and use the labor practices that we hold as high standards compared to any other country in the world. And so literally the solution to our energy future is right underneath our feet, and we should be doing everything we can to utilize it.
I couldn't agree more with you, Congressman. When we're, even if, outside of nuclear, even if we're talking about wind turbines or solar panels, I can have debates with folks all day on how inefficient or efficient they are, whichever side you agree upon. But as long as we're making them, as long as legislation is getting passed to build them, we might as well get the copper and nickel from here in the U.S. And then as long as, we have nuclear power plants, we might as well be producing our uranium here at home domestically.
It just makes so much logical sense that why would we put our energy future in the hands of foreign sources? And like I said, it'd be one thing if it were Canada, perhaps, I guess, right?
Yeah.
But why should we put our destiny in the hands of Russia or communist China? That makes no sense whatsoever.